Hi, and welcome to this CDP webinar. My name is Shane Edwards, and I'm the Managing Director of Quality Employment Services Australia, or QESA. This webinar is called Conducting Telephone Appointments During COVID-19. Usually, most CDP appointments are conducted face-to-face. However, under the current circumstances, telephone servicing is becoming more suitable for ongoing CDP services. Let's have a look at what we'll cover in this webinar. We will look at the current situation with COVID-19 and its impact on CDP service delivery. We'll look at the pros and cons of delivering appointments via the telephone, how to prepare yourself for a telephone appointment. We'll look at conducting an initial appointment over the telephone and how to file note a telephone appointment. Let's start by looking at the current situation. Since COVID-19 began impacting Australia, the federal government has taken steps to ensure that all Australians are as safe as possible. This has also included advice to those organisations delivering federally funded employment and community service programs such as CDP. Some of the specific measures taken regarding CDP include the removal of face-to-face servicing requirements. This includes both appointments and activities. A stronger focus on the use of telephones and, where available, video and online services. In recent times, the relaxation of the compliance framework to ensure no job seekers are being penalised during this time. And finally, recent advice regarding the delivery of initial appointments over the phone that will still allow for job seekers to be commenced onto the caseload. Now, when we talk about servicing job seekers over the phone, there are a number of pros and cons for using this method. Let's have a look at a few. Firstly, the pros. Less formal. A telephone appointment creates a less formal environment than a face-to-face office-based appointment. It allows you to have more of a chat or a yarn with the job seeker. Privacy. Despite the lack of face-to-face contact, a telephone appointment has the potential to be a more private appointment, as phone calls can be made in private offices and the appointment is not taking place in any open space areas. And planning. By scheduling telephone appointments, it allows you to plan better for the appointment. You may even want to write out a script or checklist to cover things off. Telephone appointments will often be shorter than face-to-face ones and also lend themselves to better daily time management. Now let's look at the cons with telephone appointments. Firstly, body language. It can be difficult when you can't see someone to pick up on their personal cues and body language. Often this gives us an indication of how they're feeling or if they're understanding what we are saying. It is important to remember that when talking on the phone, to check in regularly with the job seeker to ensure they're okay and that they understand. Phone access. An obvious con is not having access to a phone. It is important that you obtain the most recent and up-to-date phone numbers for job seekers. Perhaps they are able to use a friend or family member's phone for the purpose of an appointment. However, this may be a major stumbling block when it comes to non-face-to-face appointments. And signatures. The final con relates to getting job seekers' signatures on important documents. Over the phone, servicing can make this difficult. However, the government has relaxed some of these requirements, which we'll talk specifically about when we look at initial appointments. Now, in this section, we identified planning as a pro for telephone appointments, as these types of appointments allow you to prepare better. When preparing for a telephone appointment, it's important to consider a number of different things. Firstly, what follow-up was required from the last appointment that may need to be conducted at this appointment? Is a job plan update required? And if so, how will that take place? What referrals or information needs to be organised before the appointment to make the appointment run smooth and to lessen the time the job seeker needs to be on the phone? Are there any online services that you can recommend that can assist the job seeker to address any vocational or non-vocational barriers? Does the job seeker require an email address set up which will assist in their contact with you during this time? You may want to develop a script or checklist to ensure all aspects of the appointment are covered. If the job seeker is employed, is the current situation going to impact that employment, and is there anything that you can do to assist? And finally, How is a job seeker coping with the current COVID-19 situation? Be aware that many people may be anxious or feeling low during this time. Let's now have a quick look at telephone appointments from a technical perspective. In ECSN, we usually create face-to-face time slots in the calendar and a job seeker's diary. However, we also have the ability to create time slots for telephone as well as video conference appointments. You could use this feature when servicing your job seekers. Remember though that no job seekers are to be resulted did not attend invalid during this period, and any non-attendance would be resulted as DNAV due to COVID-19. Okay, now let's have a look at the initial appointment. CDP providers will still have new referrals from Services Australia who will require initial appointments, and unfortunately in the coming weeks and months there may be more and more initial appointments as people continue to lose their jobs. You are still able to conduct initial appointments and commence job seekers onto the caseload. Let's look at a few key areas. Firstly, the initial appointment introduction. As with any initial appointment, be sure to introduce yourself and explain what CDP is. You'll be able to see from ECSN whether or not the job seeker has a history of employment services or whether this is their first time in employment services. If it's their first time, you may need to explain it in a little bit more detail and be a little bit clearer. Also, explain the current situation regarding COVID-19 and its impact on the delivery of CDP at the moment. It may be useful at the initial appointment to obtain an up-to-date phone number, including any alternative phone numbers for the job seeker, and maybe an email address for them as well to assist with further servicing. Conducting the JSCI. The JSCI is an important part of every initial appointment. You should conduct the JSCI with the job seeker by asking the questions as per normal. At the end of the JSCI, print it out, go over it one more time with the job seeker to ensure it is correct. Gain verbal approval of the JSCI from the job seeker and place a copy of the completed JSCI on their file with a note for them to sign following the COVID-19 crisis. You may want to email a copy of the completed JSCI to the job seeker for their own records. And finally, the job plan at the initial appointment. Create the job plan as per normal in ECSN. Ensure you include things such as goals, the AI12 provider appointments activity, the JSO9 job search activity, and the WE12 work for the dollar activity if required, as well as any assistance and any other activities or assistance that you think might be suitable for the job seeker at that particular point in time. Once complete, print out a copy of the job plan and read it out completely to the job seeker, noting all goals, activities, and assistance. If the job seeker verbally agrees to the contents, then the job plan can be approved, and the unsigned copy held on file with a note to sign following the end of the COVID-19 crisis. You may want to email a copy of the completed job plan to the job seeker for their records. Lastly, let's look at file noting for telephone appointments. Here is an example of a file note for a regular contact appointment. Obviously, activities are currently suspended, and at the current time, there would also be little opportunity for job searching, particularly in remote areas. However, if you're able to provide online or distance services, then ensure you document this. Your file notes during this time will be about managing the job seeker's expectations as well as their requirements. They will still be required to report any income to Services Australia, and you can still conduct post-placement support with those job seekers still in employment. The main thing is that you are staying connected and providing support and advice where necessary. If you require any further assistance or information regarding the current COVID-19 situation, including NIAA advice, then please ensure you visit the new look ECSN provider portal.